Side 6, The Divine Invasion, by Philip K. Dick, continuing on page 199. These two portions of the Godhead, he thought, have been detached from each other for millennia, but now we have come together again, the male half of the Godhead and the female half. While I was away, the Shekinah intervened in the lives of human beings to assist them. Here and there, sporadically, the Shekinah remained. So God never truly left mankind. We are each other, Zena said, and we have found each other again, and again are one. The split is healed. Through all your veils, Emmanuel said, beneath all your forms, there lay this, my own self. And I did not recognize you until you reminded me. How did I accomplish that? Zena said. And then she said, but I know. My love of games. That is your love, your secret joy, to play like a child, to be not serious. I appealed to that. I woke you up and you remembered. You recognized me. Such a difficult process, he said, for me to remember. I thank you. She had abased herself in the fallen world all this time, while he had left. The greater heroism was hers, staying with man in all man's inglorious conditions, down into the prison with him, Emmanuel thought, man's beautiful companion, at his side as she is now at mine. But you are back, Zena said. You have returned. That is so, he said. Returned to you. I had forgotten that you existed. I only recalled the world. You, the kind side, he thought, the compassionate side, and I, the terrible side that arouses fear and trembling. Together we form a unity. Separated, we are not whole. We are not, individually, enough. Clues, Zena said. I kept giving you clues, but it was up to you to recognize me. Emmanuel said, I did not know who I was for a time, and I did not know who you were. Two mysteries confronted me, and they had a single answer. Let's go look at the wolves, Zena said. They are such beautiful animals. And we can ride the little train. We can visit all the animals. And let them free, Emmanuel said. Yes, she said, and let them, all of them, free. Will Egypt always exist, he said. Will slavery always exist? Yes, Zena said, and so will we. As they approached the Stanley Park Zoo, Emmanuel said, the animals will be surprised by their freedom. At first they won't know what to do. Then we will teach them, Zena said, as we always have. What they know they have learned from us. We are their guide. So be it, he said, and placed his hand on the first metal cage. Within it, a small animal peered at him hesitantly. Emmanuel said, Come out of your cage. The animal, trembling, came to him, and he took it in his arms. From his audio store, Herb Asher called Linda at her Sherman Oaks home. It took a little while. 2 robot secretaries held him up temporarily, but at last he got through. Hello, he said when he had her on the line. How's my sound system coming? She blinked rapidly and put her finger to her eye. My contact lens is slipping. Just a second. Her face disappeared from the screen. I'm back, she said. I owe you a dinner, right? Do you want to fly out to California? I'm still at the Golden Hind. I will be for another week. We're getting good audiences. I'm trying out a whole lot of new material. I want your reaction to it. Fine, he said, enormously pleased. So can we get together then? Linda said. Out here? Sure, he said. You name a time. What about tomorrow night? It'll have to be before I go to work, if we're going to have dinner." "Fine," he said. "Around 6 p.m. California time?" She nodded. "Herb," she said, "you can stay at my place if you want. I've got a big house, plenty of room." "I'd love to," he said. "I'll serve you some very good California wine. A Mondavi red. I want you to like California wines. That French Burgundy we had in New York was very nice, but we have excellent wines out here." "Is there a particular place you want to have dinner?" "Sachiko's," Linda said. "Japanese food." "You've got yourself a deal," he said. "Is my sound system coming along okay?" she asked. "Doing fine," he said. "I don't want you to work too hard," Linda Fox said. "I have a feeling you work too hard. I want you to relax and enjoy life. There's so much to enjoy. Good wine, friends." Herb said, "Lefroy Scotch." In amazement, Linda Fox exclaimed, "Don't tell me you know about Lefroy Scotch. I thought I was the only person in the world who drinks Lefroy." "It's been made in the traditional copper stills for over 250 years, Herb Asher said. "It requires 2 distillations and the skill of an expert stillman." "Yes, that's what it says on the package." She began to laugh. "You got that off the package, Herb." "Yeah," he said. "Isn't my Manhattan apartment going to be great?" she said enthusiastically. "That sound system you're putting in is what will make it." "Herb," she scrutinized him, "do you honestly believe my music is good?" "Yes," he said. "I know. What I say is true." "You are so sweet," she said. "You see so much ahead for me. It's like you're my good luck person. You know, Herb, no one has ever really had confidence in me. I never did well in school. My family didn't think I could make it as a singer. I had skin trouble, too, really bad. Of course, I actually haven't made it yet. I'm just beginning. And yet to you, I'm—" She gestured. "Someone important," he said. "And that means so much to me. I need it so bad. Herb, I have such a low opinion of myself. I'm so sure I'm going to fail. Or I used to be so sure," she corrected herself. "But you give me... Well, when I see myself through your eyes, I don't see a struggling new artist. I see something that..." She tried to go on. Her lashes fluttered, and she smiled at him apprehensively but hopefully, wanting him to finish for her. "I know about you," he said, "as no one else does." And indeed that was true, because he remembered her and no one else did. The world, collectively, had forgotten. It had fallen asleep. It would have to be reminded, and it would be. "Come on out to the West Coast, Herb," Linda said. "Please. We'll have a lot of fun. Do you know California very well? You don't, do you?" "I don't," he admitted. "I flew out to catch you at the Golden Hind, and I always dreamed of living in California, but I never did." "I'll take you all around. It'll be terrific, and you can cheer me up when I'm depressed and reassure me when I'm scared. Okay?" "Okay," he said, and felt for her great love. "When you get out here, tell me what I do right in my music and what I'm doing wrong. But tell me most of all that I'm going to make it. Tell me I'm not going to fail, like I think I am. Tell me that the Dowland is a good idea. Dowland's lute music is so beautiful, the most beautiful music ever written. You really believe, then, you're sure that my music, the kind of things I sing, will take me to the top?" "I'm positive," he said. "How do you know these things? It's as if you have a gift that you in turn give to me." "It is from God," Herb Asher said. "My present to you, my confidence in you. Accept what I say. It is true." Gravely, she said, "I sense magic around us, Herb. A magic spell. I know that sounds silly, but I do. A beauty to everything." "A beauty," he said, "that I find in you." "In my music?" "In you both." "You're not making this up?" "No," he said. "I swear by God's own name, by the Father that created us." From God, she echoed. Herb, it scares me. You scare me. There is something about you. Herb Asher said, Your music will take you all the way. He knew because he remembered. He knew because for him it had already happened. Really? Linda said. Yes, he said. It will carry you to the stars. 18. The small animal, released from its cage, crept into Emmanuel's arms. He and Zena held it, and it thanked them. Both of them felt its gratitude. It's a little goat, Zena said, examining its hooves. A kid. How kind of you, the kid said to them. I have waited a long time to be released from my cage. The cage you put me in, Zena Pallas. You know me, she said, surprised. Yes, I know you, the kid said as it pressed itself against her. I know both of you, although you two are really one. You have reunited your sundered selves, but the battle is not over. The battle begins now. Emmanuel said, I know this creature. The little goat in Zena's arms said, I am Belial, whom you imprisoned and whom you now release. Belial, Emmanuel said, my adversary. Welcome to my world, Belial said. It is my world, Zena said. Not any more. The goat's voice gained strength and authority. In your rush to free the prisoners, you have freed the greatest prisoner of all. I will contend against you, deity of light. I will take you down into the caves where there is no light. Nothing of your radiance will shine now. The light has gone out, or soon will. Your game up to now has been a mock game, in which you played against your own self. How could the deity of light lose when both sides were portions of him? Now you face a true adversary, you who drew order out of chaos, and now draw me out of that order. I will test the powers that you have. Already you have made a mistake. You freed me without knowing who I am. I had to tell you. Your knowledge is not perfect. You can be surprised. Have I not surprised you? Zena and Emmanuel were silent. You made me helpless, Belial said, placed in a cage, and then you felt sorry for me. You are sentimental, deity of light. It will be your downfall. I accuse you of weakness, the inability to be strong. I am he who accuses, and I accuse my own creator. To rule, you must be strong. It is the strong who rule. They rule the weak. You have instead protected the weak. You have offered help to me, your enemy. Let us see if that was wise. The strong should protect the weak, Zena said. The Torah says so. It is a basic idea of the Torah. It is basic to God's law. As God protects man, so man should protect the disadvantaged, even down to animals and the nobler trees. Belial said, This runs contrary to the nature of life, the nature you implanted in it. This is how life evolves. I accuse you of violating your own biological foundations, the order of the world. Yes, by all means, free every prisoner. Loose a tide of murderers on the world. You have begun with me. Again, I thank you. But now I leave you. I have as much to do as you have, perhaps more. Let me down. The goat leaped from their arms and ran off. Zena and Emmanuel watched it go, and as it ran, it grew. It will undo our world, Zena said. Emmanuel said, We will kill it first. He raised his hand. The goat vanished. It is not gone, Zena said. It has concealed itself in the world, camouflaged itself. We cannot now even find it. You know that it won't die. Like us, it is eternal. In the other cages, the remaining imprisoned animals clamored to be released. Zena and Emmanuel ignored them. Instead, they looked this way and that for the goat whom they had let out. let out to do as it wished.
"I sense its presence," Zena said.
"I too," Emmanuel said somberly. "Our work is undone already."
"But the battle is not over," Zena said. "As it said itself, the battle now begins."
"So be it," Emmanuel said. "We will fight it together, the two of us, as we did in the beginning, before the fall." Leaning toward him, Zena kissed him. He felt her fear, her intense dread, and that dread lay within him too. What will become of them now, he asked himself, the people whom he wished to free? What kind of prison will Belial contrive for them, with his endless ability to contrive prisons? Subtle ones and gross ones, prisons within prisons, prisons for the body, and, worse by far, prisons for the mind. The cave of treasures under the garden, dark and small, without air and without light, without real time and real space, walls that shrink and, caught tight, minds that shrink. And we have allowed this, Zena and I. We have colluded with the goat thing to bring this about. Its release is their constraint, he realized. A paradox. We have given freedom to the builder of dungeons. In our desire to emancipate, we have crushed the souls of all the living. It will affect every one of them in this world, from the highest to the lowest, until we can return the goat thing to its box, until we can place it back within its container. And now it is everywhere. It is not contained. The atoms of the air are now its abode. It is inhaled like vapor, and each creature breathing it in will die. Not completely and not physically, but nonetheless death will come. We have released death, the death of the spirit, for all that now lives and wishes to live. This is our gift to them, done out of kindness.
"Motive does not count," Zena said, aware of his thoughts.
Emmanuel said, "The road to hell." Literally, he thought, in this case. That is the only door we have opened, the door to the tomb. I pity the small creatures the most, he thought, those who have done the least harm. They, above all, do not deserve this. The goat thing will single them out for the greatest suffering. It will afflict them in proportion to their innocence. This is its method by which the great balance is tilted from rectitude, and the plan undone. It will accuse the weak and destroy the helpless. It will use its power against those least able to defend themselves. And most of all, it will devour the little hopes, the meager dreams of the small. Here we must intervene, he said to himself, to protect the small. This is our first task, and the first line of our defense. Lifting off from his abode in Washington, D.C., Herb Asher joyfully began the flight to California and Linda Fox. This is going to be the happiest period of my life, he said to himself. He had his suitcases in the back seat, and they were filled with everything that he might need. He would not be returning to Washington, D.C. and Rivas for some time, if ever. A new life, he thought, as he guided his car through the vividly marked transcontinental traffic lanes. It's like a dream, he thought, a dream fulfilled. He realized suddenly that soupy string music filled his car. Shocked, he ceased thinking and listened. South Pacific, he realized. The song, "I'm Gonna Wash That Man Right Out of My Hair." 809 strings, and not even divided strings. Was his car stereo on? He glanced at its indicator light and dial. No, it was not. I am in cryonic suspension, he thought. It's that huge FM transmitter next door. 50,000 watts of audio drizzle messing up everyone at Crylabs Incorporated. Son of a bitch. He slowed his car, stunned and afraid. I don't get it, he thought in panic. I remember being released from suspension.
I was 10 years frozen, and then they found the organs for me and brought me back to life. Didn't they? Or was that a cryonic fantasy of my dead mind? Which this is, too. Oh, my God. No wonder it has seemed like a dream. It is a dream. The fox, he thought, is a dream. My dream. I invented her as I lay in suspension. I am inventing her now. And my only clue is this dull music seeping in everywhere. Without the music, I would never have known. It is diabolic, he thought, to play such games with a human being, with his hopes, with his expectations. A red light on his dashboard lit up, and simultaneously a bleep, bleep, bleep sounded. He had, in addition to everything else, become the target of a cop car. The cop car came up beside him and grappled onto his car. Their mutual doors slid back, and the cop confronted him. "Hand me your license," the cop said. His face, behind its plastic mask, could not be seen. He looked like some kind of World War I fortification, something that had been built at Verdun. "Here it is." Herb Asher passed his license to the cop as their two cars, now joined, moved slowly forward as one. "Are there any warrants out on you, Mr. Asher?" the cop said as he punched information into his console. "No," Herb Asher said. "You're mistaken." Lines of illuminated letters appeared on the cop's display. "According to our records, you're here on Earth illegally. Did you know that?" "It's not true," he said. "This is an old warrant. They've been trying to find you for some time. I am going to take you into custody." Herb Asher said, "You can't. I'm in cryonic suspension. Watch, and I'll put my hand through you." He reached out and touched the cop. His hand met solid armored flesh. "That's strange," Herb Asher said. He pressed harder, and then realized all at once that the cop held a gun pointed at him. "You want to bet," the cop said, "about the cryonic suspension?" "No," Herb Asher said. "Because if you fool around anymore, I will kill you. You are a wanted felon. I can kill you any time I wish. Take your hand off me. Get it away." Herb Asher withdrew his hand. And yet he could still hear South Pacific. The soupy sound still oozed at him from every side. "If you could put your hand through me," the cop said, "you'd fall through the floor of your car. Think the logic through. It isn't a question of my being real. It's a question of everything being real. For you, I mean. It's your problem. Or you think it's your problem. Were you in cryonic suspension at one time?" "Yes." "You're having a flashback. It's common. Under pressure, your brain abreacts. Cryonic suspension provides a womb-like sense of security that your brain tapes and later on retrieves. Is this the first time it's happened to you, this flashback? I've come across people who've been in cryonic suspension who never could be convinced by any evidence, by what anyone said or whatsoever happened, that they were finally out of it." "You're talking to one of them now," Herb Asher said. "Why do you think you're in cryonic suspension?" "The soupy music." "I don't." "Of course you don't. That's the point." "You're hallucinating." "Right." Herb Asher nodded. "That's my point." He reached out for the cop's gun. "Go ahead and shoot," he said. "It won't hurt me. The beam will go right through me." "I think you belong in a mental hospital, not a jail." "Maybe so." The cop said, "Where were you going?" "To California, to visit the fox." "As in the fox and the cat?" "The greatest living singer." "I never heard of him." "Her," Herb Asher said. "She's not well known in this world. In this world she's just beginning her career. I'm going to help make her famous throughout the galaxy. I promised her." "What's the other world compared to this?" "The real world," Herb Asher said. "God caused me to remember it. I'm one of the few people who remembers it. He appeared to me in the bamboo bushes, and there were words in red fire telling me the truth and restoring my memories." "You are a very sick man. You think you're in cryonic suspension, and you remember another universe. I wonder what would have happened to you if I hadn't grappled onto you." "I'd have had a good time," Herb Asher said, "out on the West Coast. A hell of a lot better time than I'm having now.
What else did God tell you?
Different things.
God talks to you frequently?
Rarely. I'm his legal father.
The cop stared at him. What?
I'm God's legal father. Not his actual father, just his legal father. My wife is his mother. The cop continued to stare at him. The laser pistol wavered. God caused me to marry his mother so that...
Hold out both your hands.
Herb Asher held out both his hands. Immediately cuffs closed around his wrists.
Continue, the cop said. But I should tell you that anything you say may be held against you in a court of law.
The plan was to smuggle God back to Earth, Herb Asher said, in my wife's womb. It succeeded. That's why there's a warrant out for me. The crime I committed was smuggling God back to Earth, where the evil one rules. The evil one secretly controls everyone and everything here. For example, you are working for the evil one.
But you don't realize it. You have never heard of Belial.
True, the cop said.
That proves my point, Herb Asher said. Everything you have said since I grappled onto you has been recorded, the cop said. It will be analyzed. So you're God's father.
Legal father.
And that's why you're wanted. I wonder what the statute violation is, technically. I've never seen it listed. Posing as God's father.
Legal father.
Who's his real father?
He is, Herb Asher said. He impregnated his mother.
This is disgusting.
It's the truth. He impregnated her with himself, and thereby replicated himself in microform, by which method he was able to...
Should you be telling me this?
The battle is over. God has won. The power of Belial has been destroyed.
Then why are you sitting here with the cuffs on? And why am I pointing a laser gun at you?
I'm not sure. I'm having trouble figuring that out. That and South Pacific. There are a few bits and pieces I can't seem to get to go in place, but I'm working on it. What I am positive about is Yah's victory.
Yah. I guess that's God.
Yes, his actual name. His original name, when he was living on the top of the mountain.
The cop said, I don't mean to compound your troubles, but you are the most fucked up human being I have ever met. And I see a lot of different kinds of people. They must have flushed your brain when they put you in cryonic suspension. They must not have gotten to you in time. I'd say that about a sixth of your brain is working, and that sixth isn't working right. Not at all. I'm taking you to a far, far better place than you have ever been, and they will do far, far better things to you than you can possibly imagine. In my opinion,
I'll tell you something else, Herb Asher said. You know who my business partner is? The prophet Elijah.
Into his microphone, the cop said, This is 356 Kansas. I am bringing an individual in for psychiatric evaluation. A white male about... To Herb Asher, he said, Did I give you your license back? The cop put his gun back in its holster and rummaged beside him for Herb Asher's license. Herb Asher lifted the gun from the cop's holster and pointed it at him. He had to hold both hands together because of the cuffs, but nonetheless he was able to do it. He has my gun, the cop said. The intercom speaker sputtered, You let a slusher get your gun? Well, he was running off at the mouth about God. I thought he was... The cop's voice trailed off lamely. What is the individual's name? The speaker sputtered. Asher. Herbert Asher. Mr. Asher, the speaker sputtered, please return the officer's gun. I can't, Herb Asher said. I'm frozen in cryonic suspension, and there's a 50,000-watt FM transmitter next door playing South Pacific. It's driving me crazy. The speaker sputtered, Suppose we instruct the station to shut down its transmitter. Then will you return the officer's gun? I'm paralyzed, Herb Asher said. I'm dead. If you're dead, the speaker sputtered, you have no need of a gun. In fact, if you're dead, how are you going to fire the gun? You said yourself that you're frozen. People in cryonic suspension can't move. They're like Lincoln logs. Then tell the officer to take the gun away from me, Herb Asher said. The speaker sputtered, Take the...
"The gun is real," the cop said, "and Asher is real. He's crazy. He's not frozen. Would I arrest a dead man? Would a dead man be flying to California? There's a warrant out on this man. He is a wanted felon." "What are you wanted for?" The speaker sputtered. "I'm talking to you, Mr. Asher. I'm talking to a dead man who's frozen stiff at 0 degrees. "Much colder than that," Herb Asher said. "Ask them to play the Mahler Second Symphony, and play it the way it was originally written, not an all-string version. I can't stand any more of this all-string music, this easy-listening music. It's not easy for me. At one time I had to listen to Fiddler on the Roof for months. Matchmaker, Matchmaker lasted for days, and it was at a very critical time in my cycle. I was—" "All right," the speaker sputtered reasonably. "What do you say to this? We'll have the FM station play the Mahler Second Symphony, and in exchange you'll return the officer's gun. What is the—" "Wait a minute." Silence. "There's a lapse of logic here," the cop beside Herb Asher said. "You're falling into his idée fixe. You know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing folie à deux. This has got to stop. There is no FM transmitter broadcasting South Pacific. If there were, I would hear it. You can't call the station, any station, and have them play the Mahler Second. It won't work." The speaker sputtered. "But he'll think so, you stupid son of a bitch." "Oh," the cop said. "Give me a few minutes, Mr. Asher," the speaker sputtered, "to get hold—" "No," Herb Asher said. "It's a trick. I won't give up the gun." To the cop beside him he said, "Release my car." "Better release his car," the speaker sputtered. "And take off the cuffs," Herb Asher said. "You'll really like the Mahler Second Symphony," the cop said. "It's got a choir in it." "Do you know what the Mahler Second has in it?" Herb Asher said. "Do you know what it's scored for? I'll tell you what it's scored for. 4 flutes, all alternating with piccolos, 4 oboes, the third and fourth alternating with English horns, an E-flat clarinet, 4 clarinets, the third alternating with bass clarinet, the fourth with second E-flat clarinet, 4 bassoons, the third and fourth alternating with contrabassoon, 10 horns, 10 trumpets, 4 trombones." "4 trombones," the cop said. "Jesus Christ," the speaker sputtered. "A tuba," Herb Asher continued, "organ, 2 sets of timpani, plus an additional single drum off stage, 2 bass drums, 1 off stage, 2 pairs of cymbals, 1 off stage, 2 gongs, one of relatively high pitch, the other low, 2 triangles, 1 off stage, a snare drum, preferably more than one, glockenspiel, bells, a ruta." "What is a ruta?" the cop beside Herb Asher asked. "Ruta literally means rod," Herb Asher said. "It's made of a lot of pieces of rattan. It looks like a large clothes brush or a small broom. It's used to play the bass drum. Mozart wrote for the ruta. 2 harps, with 2 or more players to each part, if possible." He pondered. "Plus the regular orchestra, naturally, including a full string section. Have them use their mixing board to downplay the strings. I've heard enough strings. And be sure the 2 soloists, the soprano and alto, are good." "That's it?" the radio sputtered. "You've fallen back into his delusion," the cop beside Herb Asher said. "You know," the radio said, "he sounds rational enough. Are you sure he's got your gun? Mr. Asher, how does it happen that you know so much about music? You seem to be quite an authority." "There are 2 reasons," Herb Asher said. "One is due to my living on a planet in the star system CY30 CY30b. I operate a sophisticated bank of electronic equipment, both video and audio. I receive transmissions from the mother ship and record them, and then beam them to the other domes both on my planet and on nearby planets. And I handle traffic from Fomalhaut, as well as domestic emergency traffic. And the other reason is that the prophet Elijah and I own a retail audio components store in Washington, D.C. Plus the fact," the cop beside Herb Asher said, "that you're in cryonic suspension." "All 3, Herb Asher said. "Yes." "And God tells you things," the cop said. "Not about music," Herb Asher said. "He doesn't have to. He did erase all my Linda Fox tapes, however, and he cooked my Linda Fox incoming. There is another universe,"
the cop seated beside Herb Asher explained, "where this Linda Fox is incredibly famous. Mr. Asher is flying out to California to be with her. How he can manage to do that while frozen in cryonic suspension beats the hell out of me, but those are his plans, or were his plans until I grappled him." "I am still going there," Herb Asher said, and then realized that he had made a mistake to tell them this. Now they could track him down, even if he escaped. He had done a foolish thing. He had said too much. Regarding him intently, the cop said, "I do believe that his self-monitoring circuit has notified him that he has spoken injudiciously." "I wondered when it would cut in," the speaker sputtered. "Now I can't go to the Fox," Herb Asher said. "I'm not going there. I'm going back to my dome in the CY30 CY30B system. You lack jurisdiction there. Also, Belial does not rule there. Yah rules there." The cop said, "I thought you said Yah came back here, and I would presume if he did come back here, he now rules." "It has become obvious to me during the course of this conversation," Herb Asher said, "that he does not rule here, at least not completely. Something is wrong. I knew it when I started hearing the sappy, soupy string music. I especially knew it when you grappled me and when you told me there's a warrant out for me. Maybe Belial has won. Maybe that's it. You are all servants of Belial. Take the cuffs off me or I'll kill you." The cop reluctantly removed the cuffs. "It would seem to me, Mr. Asher," the speaker sputtered, "that there are internal contradictions in what you say. If you will concentrate on them, you will see why you give the impression of being brain-slushed. First you say one thing, and then you say another. The only lucid interval in your discourse came when you discussed the Mahler Second Symphony, and that is probably due, as you say, to the fact that you're in the retail audio components business. It is a last remnant of a once intact psyche. Understand that if you go in with the officer, you will not be punished. You will be treated as the lunatic that you obviously are. No judge would convict a man who says what you say." "That's true," the cop beside Herb Asher agreed. "All you have to do is tell the judge about God speaking to you from the bamboo bushes, and you're home free. And especially when you tell him that you're God's father." "Legal father," Herb Asher corrected. "That will make a big impression on the court," the cop said. Herb Asher said, "There is a great war being fought at this moment between God and Belial. The fate of the universe is at stake, its actual physical existence. When I took off for the West Coast, I had reason to assume, that everything was okay. Now I am not sure. Now I think that something dark and awful has gone wrong. You police are the paradigm of it, the epitome. I would not have been grappled if Yah had in fact won. I will not go on to California, because that would jeopardize Linda Fox. You'll find her, of course, but she doesn't know anything. She is, in this world anyhow, a struggling new talent whom I was trying to help. Leave her alone. Leave me alone, too. Leave us all alone. You do not know whom you serve. Do you understand what I'm saying? You are in the service of evil, whatever else you may think. You are machines processing an old warrant. You do not know what I've done, or been accused of doing. You can make no sense of what I say because you do not understand the situation. You are going by rules that don't apply. This is a unique time. Unique events are taking place. Unique forces are squared off against one another. I will not go to Linda Fox, but on the other hand, I do not know where I will go instead. Maybe Elias will know. Maybe he can tell me what to do. My dream was shot down when you grappled me, and maybe her dream, too. Linda Fox's dream. Maybe I can't now help her become a star, as I promised. Time will tell. The outcome will determine it, the outcome of the great battle. I pity you, because whatever the outcome, you are destroyed. Your souls are gone now." Silence. "You are an unusual man, Mr. Asher," the cop beside him said. "Crazy or not, whatever it is that has gone wrong with you, you are one of a kind." He nodded slowly, as if deep in thought. "This is not an ordinary kind of insanity. This is not like anything I have ever seen or heard before. You talk about the whole universe, more than the universe, if that is possible. You impress me, and in a way, you frighten me. I am sorry I grappled you, now that I have listened to you. Don't shoot me. I'll release your vehicle and you can fly off. I won't pursue you. I'd like to forget what I've heard in the last few minutes. You talk about God and a counter-God and a terrible battle that seems to be lost. Lost to the power of the counter-God, I mean. This does not fit with anything I know of or understand. Go away. I'll forget you and you can forget about me. Wearily, the cop plucked at his metal mask. You can't let him go, the speaker sputtered. Oh, yes, I can, the cop said. I can let him go and I can forget everything he said, everything I've heard. Except that it's recorded, the speaker sputtered. The cop reached down and pressed a button. I just erased it, he said. I thought the battle was over, Herb Asher said. I thought God had won. God has not won. I know that even though you are letting me go. But maybe it is a sign you're releasing me. I see some response in you, some amount of human warmth. I am not a machine, the cop said. But will that continue to be true? Herb Asher said. I wonder. What will you be a week from now? A month? What will we all become? And what power do we have to affect it? The cop said, I just want to get away from you, a long distance away. Good, Herb Asher said. It can be arranged. Someone must tell the world the truth, he added. The truth you know, that I told you, that God is in combat and losing. Who can do it? You can, the cop said. No, Herb Asher said. But he knew who could. Elijah can, he said. It is his task. This is what he has come for, that the world will know. Then get him to do it, the cop said. I will, Herb Asher said. That's where I will go. Back to my partner. Back to Washington, D.C. I will forego the fox, he said to himself. That is the loss I must accept. Bitter sorrow filled him as he realized this. But it was a fact. He could not be with her now. Not until later. Not until the battle had been won. As the cop ungrappled his vehicle from Herb Asher's, he said a strange thing. Pray for me, Mr. Asher, he said. I will, Herb Asher said. His vehicle released, he swung it in a great looping arc and headed back toward Washington, D.C. The police car did not follow. The cop had kept his word. 19. From their audio shop, he called Elias Tate, waking him up from deepest sleep. Elijah, he said, the time has come. What? Elias muttered. Is the store on fire? What are you talking about? Was there a break-in? What did we lose? Unreality is coming back, Herb Asher said. The universe has begun to dissolve. It is not the store, it is everything. You're hearing the music again, Elias said. Yes. That is the sign. You are right. Something has happened. Something they did not expect. Herb, there has been another fall. And I slept. Thank God you woke me. Probably it is not in time. The accident, they allowed an accident to occur, as in the beginning. Well, thus the cycles fulfill themselves, and the prophecies are complete. My own time to act has now come. Because of you, I have emerged from my own forgetfulness. Our store must become a center of holiness, the temple of the world. We must patch into that FM station whose sound you hear. We must use it, as it has in its own time made use of you. It will be our voice. What will it say? Elias said, It will say, sleepers, awake.
That is our message to the listening world. Wake up! Yahweh is here and the battle has begun, and all your lives are in the balance. All of you now are weighed this way or that, for better, for worse. No one escapes, even God himself in all his manifestations. Beyond this there is no more. So rise up from the dust, you creatures, and begin to live. You will live only insofar as you will fight. What you will have, if anything, you must earn, each for himself, and each now, not later. Come! This will be the tune that we will play over and over, and the world will hear, for we shall reach it all, first a little part, then the rest. For this my voice was fashioned at the beginning. For this I have come back to the world again and again. My voice will sound now, at this final time. Let us go, let us begin, and hope it is not too late, that I did not sleep too long. We must be the world's information source, speaking in all the tongues. We will be the tower that originally failed, and if we fail now, then it ends here, and sleep returns. The insipid noise that assails your ears will follow a whole world to its grave, and rust will rule, and dust will rule, not for a little time, but for all time, and all men, even their machines, for all that lies ahead. Gosh, Herb Asher said. Observe our pitiful condition at this moment. We, you and I, know the truth, but have no way to bring it to the world. With the station we will have a way. We will have the way. What are the call letters of that station? I will phone them and offer to buy them. It's WORP-FM, Herb Asher said. Hang up then, Elias said, so that I can call. Where will we get the money? I have the money, Elias said. Hang up. Time is of the essence. Herb Asher hung up. Maybe if Linda Fox will make a tape for us, he thought, we can play it on our station. I mean, it shouldn't all be limited to warning the world. There are other things than Belial. His phone rang. It was Elias. We can buy the station for $30 million, Elias said. Do you have that much? Not immediately, Elias said, but I can raise it. We will sell the store and our inventory for openers. Jesus Christ, Herb Asher protested weakly. That's how we make our living. Elias glared at him. Okay, Herb said. We will have a baptismal sale, Elias said, to liquidate our inventory. I will baptize everyone who buys something from us. I will call on them to repent at the same time. Then you fully remember your identity, Herb Asher said. I do now, Elias said, but for a time I had forgotten. If Linda Fox will let you interview her, only religious music will be played on the station, Elias said. That's as bad as the soupy strings. Worse. I'll say to you what I said to the cop. Play the Mahler second. Play something interesting, something that stimulates the mind. We'll see, Elias said. I know what that means, Herb Asher said. I had a wife who used to say, we'll see. Every child knows that means. Perhaps she could sing spirituals, Elias said. Herb Asher said, this whole business is beginning to get me down. We have to sell the store. We have to raise $30 million. I can't cope with South Pacific, and I don't expect to be able to cope any better with Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace always sounded to me like some bimbo at a massage parlor. If I'm offending you, I'm sorry, but that cop almost hauled me off to jail. He said I'm here illegally. I'm a wanted man. That means you're probably wanted too. What if Belial kills Emmanuel? What happens to us? There's no way we can survive without him. I mean, Belial pushed him off Earth. He defeated him before. I think he's going to defeat him this time. Buying one FM station in Washington, D.C. isn't going to change the tide of battle. I'm a very persuasive talker, Elias said. Yeah, well, Belial isn't going to be listening to you, and neither will be the ones he controls. You're a voice... He paused. I was going to say a voice crying in the wilderness.
I guess you've heard that before. Elias said, "We could very well both wind up with our heads on silver platters, as happened to me once before. What has happened is that Belial is out of his cage, the cage Xena put him in. He is unchained. He is released onto this world. But what I say to you is, O ye of little faith! But everything that can be said has been said centuries ago. I will concede Linda Fox a small amount of airtime on our station. You can tell her that. She may sing whatever she wishes." "I'm hanging up," Herb Asher said. "I have to call her and tell her I'm not coming out to the West Coast for a while. I don't want her involved in my troubles. I'll talk to you later," Elias said. "But I suggest you call Ribis. When I last saw her, she was crying. She thinks she may have a pyloric ulcer, and it may be malignant." "Pyloric ulcers aren't malignant," Herb Asher said. "This is where I came in, hearing that Ribis Rami is sitting around crying over her illness. This is what got me involved. She is ill for illness's sake, for its own sake. I thought I was going to escape from this, finally. I'll call Linda Fox first." He hung up the phone. "Christ," he thought. "All I want to do is fly to California and begin my happy life. But the macrocosm has swallowed me and my happy life up. Where is Elias going to get $30 million? Not by selling our store and inventory. God probably gave him a bar of gold, or will rain down bits of gold, flakes of gold on him, like that manna in the wilderness that kept the ancient Jews alive. As Elias says, everything was said centuries ago, and everything happened centuries ago. My life with the fox would have been new. And here I am, once more subjected to sappy, soupy string music, which will soon give way to gospel songs." He dialed Linda Fox's private number, that of her home in Sherman Oaks, and got a recording. Her face appeared on the little phone screen, but it was a mechanical and distorted face, and he saw her skin was broken out, and her features seemed pudgy, almost fat. Shocked, he said, "No, I don't want to leave a message. I'll call back." He hung up without identifying himself. Probably she'll call me in a while, he decided, when I don't show up. After all, she is expecting me. But how strange she looked. Maybe it's an old recording. I hope so. To calm himself, he turned on one of the audio systems there at the store. He used a reliable preamp component that involved an audio hologram. The station he selected was a classical music station, one he enjoyed, but only a voice issued from the transducers of the system. No music. A whispering voice, almost inaudible. He could barely understand the words. "What the hell is this?" he asked himself. "What is it saying?" "Weary," the voice whispered in its dry, slithery tone, "and afraid. There is no possibility. Weighed down, born to lose. You are born to lose. You are no good." And then the sound of an ancient classic, Linda Ronstadt's "You're No Good." Over and over again, Ronstadt repeated the words. They seemed to go on forever, monotonous, hypnotic. Fascinated, he stood listening. The hell with this, he decided finally. He shut down the system. But the words continued to circulate and recirculate in his brain. "You are worthless," his thoughts came. "You are a worthless person." Jesus, he thought, this is far worse than the sappy, soupy, all-strings, easy listening garbage. This is lethal. He phoned his home. After a long pause, Ribis answered. "I thought you were in California," she murmured. "You woke me up. Do you realize what time it is?" "I had to turn back," he said. "I'm wanted by the police." Ribis said, "I'm going back to sleep." The screen darkened. Its light went out, and he found himself facing nothing, confronted by nothingness. They are all asleep or on tape, he thought. And when you manage to get them to say something, they tell you you're no good. The domain of Belial insinuates the paucity of value in everything. Great. Just what we need. The only bright spot was the cop asking me to pray for him.
Even Elias is acting erratically, suggesting that we buy an FM radio station for $30 million so that we can tell people, well, whatever he's going to tell people. On a par with selling them a home audio system and baptizing them as a bonus, like giving them a free stuffed animal. Animal, he thought. Belial is an animal. It was an animal voice that I heard on the radio just now. Lower than human, not greater. Animal in the worst sense, subhuman and gross. He shivered. And meanwhile Ribis sleeps, dreaming of malignancy, her perpetual cloud of illness, whether she is conscious or not. It is always with her, always there. She is her own pathogen, infecting herself. He shut off the lights, left the store, locked up the front door, and made his way to his parked car, wondering to himself where to go. Back to his ailing, complaining wife? To California and the mechanical, pudgy image he had seen on the phone screen? On the sidewalk near his parked car, something small moved. Something that hesitantly retreated from him, as if in fear. An animal, larger than a cat, yet it didn't seem to be a dog. Herb Asher halted, bent down, holding out his hand. The animal came uncertainly toward him, and then all at once he heard its thoughts in his mind. It was communicating with him telepathically. I am from the planet in the CY30 CY30b star system, it thought to him. I am one of the autochthonic goats that in former times was sacrificed to Yah. Staggered, he said, "What are you doing here?" Something was wrong. This was impossible. "Help me," the goat creature thought. "I followed you here. I traveled after you to Earth." "You're lying," he said. But he opened his car and got out his flashlight. Bending down, he turned the yellow light on the animal. Indeed, he had a goat before him, and not a very large one. And yet it could not be an ordinary Terran goat. He could discern the difference. "Please take me in and care for me," the goat creature thought to him. "I am lost. I have strayed away from my mother." "Sure," Herb Asher said. He reached out, and the goat came hesitantly toward him. What a strange little wizened face, and such sharp little hooves. Just a baby, he thought. See how it trembles. It must be starving. Out here it'll get run over. "Thank you," the goat creature thought to him. "I'll take care of you," Herb Asher said. The goat creature thought, "I am afraid of Yah. Yah is terrible in his wrath." Thoughts of fire and the cutting of the goat's throat. Herb Asher shivered. The primal sacrifice, that of an innocent animal, to quell the anger of the deity. "You're safe with me," he said, and picked up the goat creature. Its view of Yah shocked him. He envisioned Yah now, as the goat creature did, and it was a dreadful entity, this vast and angry mountain deity who demanded the sacrifice of tiny lives. "Will you save me from Yah?" the goat creature quavered. Its thoughts were limpid with apprehension. "Of course I will," Herb Asher said, and he tenderly placed the goat creature in the back of his car. "You won't tell Yah where I am, will you?" the goat creature begged. "I swear," Herb Asher said. "Thank you," the goat creature thought, and Herb Asher felt its joy, and, strangely, its sense of triumph. He wondered about that as he got in behind the wheel and started up the engine. Is this some kind of a victory for it? He asked himself. "I am merely glad to be safe," the goat creature explained, "and to have found a protector here on this planet where there is so much death." Death, Herb Asher thought. It fears death as I fear death. It is a living organism like me, even though in many ways it is quite different from me. The goat creature thought to him, "I have been abused by children, 2 children, a boy and a girl." Picture, then, in Herb Asher's mind,
A cruel pair of children with savage faces and hostile, blazing eyes. This boy and girl had tormented the goat creature, and it was terrified of falling back into their hands once more. "That will never happen," Herb Asher said. "I promise. Children can be dreadfully cruel to animals." In its mind, the goat creature laughed. Herb Asher experienced its glee. Puzzled, he turned to look at the goat creature, but in the darkness behind him it seemed invisible. He sensed it, there in the back of his car, but he could not make it out. "I'm not sure where to go," Herb Asher said. "Where you originally were going," the goat creature thought. "To California. To Linda." "Okay," he said. "But I don't—" "The police won't stop you this time," the goat creature thought to him. "I will see to that." "But you are just a little animal," Herb Asher said. The goat creature laughed. "You can give me to Linda as a present," it thought. Uneasily, he turned his car in the direction of California and rose up into the sky. "The children are here in Washington, D.C. now," the goat creature thought to him. "They were in Canada, in British Columbia, but now they have come here. I want to be far away from them." "I don't blame you," Herb Asher said. As he drove, he noticed a smell in his car, the smell of the goat. The goat stank, and this made him uneasy. What a stench, he thought, considering how small it is. I guess it's normal for the species, but still, the odor was beginning to make him sick. "Do I really want to give this smelly thing to Linda Fox?" he asked himself. "Of course you do," the goat creature thought to him, aware of what was going on in his mind. "She will be pleased." And then Herb Asher caught a really dreadful mental impression from the goat creature's mind, one that horrified him and made him drive erratically for a moment, a sexual lust on the part of the creature for Linda Fox. "I must be imagining it," Herb Asher thought. The goat creature thought, "I want her." It was contemplating her breasts and her loins, her whole body, made naked and available. "Jesus," Herb Asher thought, "this is dreadful. What have I gotten myself into?" He started to steer his car back toward Washington, D.C., and he found that he could not control the steering wheel. The goat creature had taken over. It was in power within Herb Asher, at the center of his mind. "She will love me," the goat creature thought, "and I will love her." And then its thoughts passed beyond the limits of Herb Asher's comprehension. Something to do with making Linda Fox into a thing like the goat creature, dragging her down into its domain. "She will be a sacrifice in my place," the goat creature thought. "Her throat, I will see it cut as mine has been." "No," Herb Asher said. "Yes," the goat creature thought. And it compelled him to drive on toward California and Linda Fox. And as it compelled and controlled him, it exulted in its glee. Within the darkness of his car, it danced its own kind of dance, a drumming sound that its hooves made in triumph and anticipation and intoxicated joy. It was thinking of death, and the thought of death made it celebrate with rapture and an awful song. He drove as erratically as possible, hoping that once again a police car would grapple him, but as the goat creature had promised, none did. The image of Linda Fox in Herb Asher's mind continued to undergo a dismal transformation. He envisioned her as gross and bad-complexioned, a flabby thing that ate too much and wandered about aimlessly, and he realized then that this was the view of the accuser. The goat creature was Linda Fox's accuser, who showed everything in creation under the worst light possible, under the aspect of the ugly. "This thing in my back seat is doing it," he said to himself. "This is how the goat creature sees God's total artifact, the world that God pronounced as good. It is the pessimism of evil itself. The nature of evil is to see in this fashion, to pronounce this verdict of negation.
Thus, he thought, it unmakes creation. It undoes what the Creator has brought into being. This also is a form of unreality, this verdict, this dreary aspect. Creation is not like this, and Linda Fox is not like this. But the goat creature would tell me that I am only showing you the truth, the goat creature thought to him, about your pizza waitress. You are out of the cage that Xena put you in, Herb Asher said. Elias was right. Nothing should be caged, the goat creature thought to him, especially me. I will roam the world, expanding into it until I fill it. That is my right. Belial, Herb Asher said. I hear you, the goat creature thought back. And I'm taking you to Linda Fox, Herb Asher said, whom I love most in all the world. Again he tried to take his hands from the steering wheel, and again they remained locked in place. Let us reason, the goat creature thought to him. This is my view of the world, and I will make it your view and the view of everyone. It is the truth. The light that shone originally was a spurious light. That light is going out, and the true nature of reality is disclosed in its absence. That light blinded men to the real state of things. It is my job to reveal that real state. Gray truth, the goat creature continued, is better than what you have imagined. You wanted to wake up. Now you are awake. I show you things as they are, pitilessly, but that is how it should be. How do you suppose I defeated Yahweh in times past? By revealing his creation for what it is, a wretched thing to be despised. This is his defeat, what you see. See through my mind and eyes, my vision of the world, my correct vision. Recall Ribis Rami's dome, the way it was when you first saw it. Remember what she was like. Consider what she is like now. Do you suppose that Linda Fox is any different? Or that you are any different? You are all the same. And when you saw the debris and spoiled food and rotting matter of Ribis's dome, you saw how reality really is. You saw life. You saw the truth. I will soon show you that truth about the fox, the goat creature continued. That is what you will find at the end of this trip. Exactly what you found in Ribis Rami's deteriorated dome that day, years ago. Nothing has changed, and nothing is different. You could not escape it then, and you cannot escape it now. What do you say to that? The goat creature asked him. The future need not resemble the past, Herb Asher said. Nothing changes, the goat creature answered. Scripture itself tells us that. Even a goat can cite Scripture, Herb Asher said. They entered the heavy stream of air traffic routed toward the Los Angeles area. Cars and commercial vehicles moved on all sides of them, above them, below them. Herb Asher could discern police cars, but none paid him any attention. I will guide you to her house, the goat creature informed him. Creature of dirt, Herb Asher said with fury. A floating signal pointed the way ahead. They had almost reached California. I will wager with you that, Herb Asher began, but the goat creature cut him off. I do not wager, it thought to him. I do not play. I am the strong, and I prey on the weak. You are the weak, and Linda Fox is weaker yet. Forget the idea of games. That is for children. You must be like a little child, Herb Asher said, to enter the kingdom of God. I have no interest in that kingdom, the goat thing thought to him. This is my kingdom here. Lock the autopilot computer of your car into the coordinates for her house. His hand did so, without his volition. There was no way he could hold back. The goat creature had control of his motor centers. Call her on your car phone, the goat creature told him. Inform her that you are arriving. No, he said, but his fingers placed the card with her phone number into the slot. Hello? Linda Fox's voice came from the little speaker. This is Herb, he said. I'm sorry I'm late. I got stopped by a cop. Is it too late? No, she said. I was out anyhow for a while. It'll be nice to see you again. You're going to stay, aren't you? I mean, you're not going back tonight."
"I'll stay," he said. "Tell her," the goat creature thought to him, "that you have me with you. A pet for her, a little kid." "I have a pet for you," Herb Asher said. "A baby goat."
"Oh, really? Are you going to leave it?"
"Yes," he said, without volition. The goat creature controlled his words, even the intonation.
"Well, that is so thoughtful of you. I have a whole bunch of animals already, but I don't have a goat. I guess I'll put it in with my sheep, Herman W. Mudgett."
"What a strange name for a sheep," Herb Asher said.
"Herman W. Mudgett was the greatest mass murderer in English history," Linda Fox said.
"Well," he said, "I guess it's okay."
"I'll see you in a minute. Land carefully. You don't want to hurt the goat."
She broke the connection. A few minutes later, his car settled gently down on the roof of her house. He shut the engine off. "Open the door," the goat creature thought to him. He opened the car door. Coming toward the car, lit by pale lights, Linda Fox smiled at him, her eyes sparkling. She waved in greeting. She wore a tank top and cutoffs, and, as before, her feet were bare. Her hair bounced as she hurried, and her breasts rose and fell. Within the car, the stench of the goat creature grew.
"Hi," she said breathlessly. "Where's the little goat?"
She looked into the car.
"Oh," she said, "I see. Get out of the car, little goat. Come here."
The goat creature leaped out into the pale light of the California evening.
"Belial," Linda Fox said.
She bent to touch the goat. Hastily, the goat scrambled back, but her fingers grazed its flanks. The goat creature died. 20.
"There are more of them," she said to Herb Asher, who stood gazing numbly at the corpse of the goat. "Come inside. I knew by the scent. Belial stinks to high heaven. Please come in."
She took him by the arm and led him to the doorway.
"You're shaking. You knew what it was, didn't you?"
"Yes," he said. "But who are you?"
"Sometimes I am called advocate," Linda Fox said. "When I defend, I am the advocate. Sometimes comfort. That is when I console. I am the beside helper. Belial is the accuser. We are the two adversaries of the court. Please come inside where you can sit down. This has been awful for you, I know. Okay?"
"Okay." He let her lead him to the roof elevator.
"Haven't I consoled you?" Linda Fox asked. "In the past? As you lay alone in your dome on an alien world, with no one to talk to or be with? That is my job. One of my jobs."
She put her hand on his chest.
"Your heart is pounding away. You must have been terrified. It told you what it was going to do with me. But you see, it didn't know where you were taking it. Where, or to whom."
"You destroyed it," he said.
But it has proliferated throughout the universe," Linda said. "This is only an instance, what you saw on the roof. Every man has an advocate and an accuser. In Hebrew, for the Israelites of antiquity, Yetzer HaTov was the advocate, and Yetzer Hara was the accuser. I'll fix you a drink. A good California Zinfandel, a Buena Vista Zinfandel. It's a Hungarian grape. Most people don't know that."
In her living room, he sank down in a floating chair, gratefully. He could still smell the goat.
"Will I ever?" he began. "The smell will go away." She glided over to him with a glass of red wine. "I already opened it and let it breathe. You'll like it."
He found the wine delicious, and his heartbeat had begun to return to normal. Seated across from him, Linda Fox held her own wine glass and gazed at him attentively.
"It didn't harm your wife, did it? Or Elias?"
"No," he said. "I was alone when it came up to me. It pretended to be a lost animal." Linda Fox said, "Each person on earth will have to choose between his Yetzer HaTov and his Yetzer Hara. You choose me, and so I saved you.
You choose the goat thing, and I cannot save you. In your case, I was the one you chose. The battle is waged for each soul individually. That is what the rabbis teach. They have no doctrine of fallen man as a whole. Salvation is on a one-by-one basis. Do you like the Zinfandel? Yes, he said. I will use your FM station, she said. It will be a good place to air new material. You know about that? He said. Elijah is too stern. My songs will be appropriate. My songs gladden the human heart, and that is what matters. Well, Herb Asher, here you are in California with me, as you imagined in the beginning, as you imagined in another star system, in your dome, with your holographic posters of me that moved and talked, the synthetic versions of me, the imitations. Now you have the real me with you, seated across from you. How does it feel? He said, Is it real? Do you hear 200 sugary strings? No. Linda Fox said, It's real. She set her wine glass down, rose to her feet, came toward him, and bent to put her arms around him. He woke up in the morning with the fox against him, her hair brushing his face, and he said to himself, This is actually so. It is not a dream, and the evil goat creature lies dead on the roof, my particular goat thing that came to degrade my life. This is the woman I love, he thought, as he touched the dark hair and the pale cheek. It is beautiful hair, and her lashes are long and lovely, even as she sleeps. It is impossible, but it is true. That can happen. What had Elias told him about religious faith? Certum est quia impossibile est. This is therefore credible, just because it is absurd. The great statement by the early church father Tertullian regarding the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Et sepultus resurrexit, certum est quia impossibile est. And that is the case here. What a long way I have gone, he thought, stroking the woman's bare arm. Once I imagined this, and now I experience this. I am back where I began, and yet I am totally elsewhere from where I began. It is a paradox and a miracle at the same time, and this even is California, where I imagined it to be. It is as if in dreaming I pre-saw my future reality. I experienced it beforehand. And the dead thing on the roof is proof that this is real, because my imagination could not give rise to that stinking beast whose mind glued itself to my mind and told me lies, told me ugly stories about a fat, short woman with bad skin, an object as ugly as itself, a projection of itself. Has anyone loved another human as much as I love her? He asked himself. And then he thought, she is my advocate and my beside helper. She told me Hebrew words that I have forgotten that describe her. She is my tutelary spirit, and the goat thing came all the way here, 3,000 miles, to perish when she put her fingers against its flank. It died without even a sound, so easily did she kill it. She was waiting for it. That is, as she said, her job, one of her jobs. She has others. She consoled me. She consoles millions. She defends. She gives solace. And she is there in time. She does not arrive too late. Leaning, he kissed Linda on the cheek. In her sleep she sighed. Weak and in the power of the goat creature, he thought. That is what I was when I came here. She protected me because I was weak. She does not love me as I love her, because she must love all humans. But I love her alone, with everything that I am. I, the weak, love her who is strong. My loyalty is to her, and her protection is for me. It is the covenant that God made with the Israelites, that the strong protect the weak, and the weak give their devotion and loyalty to the strong in return. It is a mutuality. I have a covenant with Linda Fox, and it will not be broken, ever, by either one of us. I'll fix breakfast for her, he decided. Stealthily he got up from the waterbed and made his way into the kitchen. A figure stood there waiting for him, a familiar figure. "Emmanuel," Herb Asher said. The boy shone in a ghostly way, and Herb Asher realized that he could see the wall and the counter and cabinets behind the boy. This was an epiphany of the divine. Emmanuel was in fact somewhere else, and yet he was here and aware of Herb Asher. "You found her," Emmanuel said. "Yes," Herb Asher said. "She will keep you safe." "I know," he said, "for the first time in my life." "Now you need not ever withdraw again," Emmanuel said, "as you did in your dome. You withdrew because you were afraid. Now you have nothing to fear, because of her presence. She as she is now, Herbert, real and alive, not an image." "I understand," he said. "There is a difference. Put her on your radio station. Help her. Help your protectress." "A paradox," Herb Asher said. "But true. You can do a lot for her. You were right when you thought of the word mutuality. She saved your life last night." Emmanuel lifted his hand. "She was given to you by me." "I see," he said. He had assumed that was the case. Emmanuel said, "Sometimes in the equation that the strong protect the weak, there is the difficulty in determining who is strong and who is weak. In most ways, she is stronger than you, but you can protect her in certain specific ways. You can shelter her back. That is the real law of life, mutual protection. In the final analysis, everything is both strong and weak, even the Yetzer HaTov, your Yetzer HaTov. She is a power and she is a person. It is a mystery. You will have time in the life ahead for you to fathom that mystery a little. You will know her better and better, but she knows you now completely. Just as Zena has absolute knowledge of me, Linda Fox has absolute knowledge of you. Did you realize that? That the fox has known you totally for a very long time?" The goat creature didn't surprise her, he said. "Nothing surprises the Yetzer HaTov of a human being," Emmanuel said. "Will I ever see you again?" Herb Asher asked. "Not as you see me now, not as a human figure such as yourself. I am not as you see me. I now shed my human side, that derived from my mother, Ribis. Zena and I will unite in a syzygy which is macrocosmic. We will not have a soma, which is to say, a physical body distinct from the world. The world will be our body, and our mind the world's mind. It will also be your mind, Herbert, and the mind of every other creature that has chosen its Yetzer HaTov, its good spirit. This is what the rabbis have taught, that each human— but I see you know this. Linda has told you. What she has not told you is a later gift that she holds in store for you, the gift of ultimate exculpation for your life in its entirety. She will be there when you are judged, and the judgment will be of her rather than you. She is spotless, and she will bestow this perfection on you when final scrutiny comes. So fear not, your ultimate salvation is assured. She would give her life for you, her friend. As Jesus said, greater love has no man than that he give up his life for his friends. When she touched the goat creature, well, I had better not say. She herself died for an instant, Herb Asher said. For an instant so brief that it scarcely existed. But it did occur. She died and returned, even though I saw nothing. That is so. How did you know? Herb Asher said, I could feel it this morning when I looked at her sleeping. I could feel her love. Wearing a flowered silk robe,
Linda Fox came sleepily into the kitchen. She stopped short when she saw Emmanuel. "Kyrios," she said quietly. "Du hast den Mensch gerettet," Emmanuel said to her. "Die giftige Schlange bekämpfte. Es freut mich sehr. Danke." Linda Fox said, "Die Absicht ist nur allzu klar. Lass mich fragen, wann also wird das Dunkel schwinden?" "Sobald dich führt der Freundschaft Hand ins Heiligtum zum ewigen Band." "Oh, wie?" Linda Fox said. "Du," Emmanuel gazed at her. "Wie stark ist nicht dein Zauberton, deine Musik. Sing immer für alle Menschen, durch Ewigkeit. Dabei ist das Dunkel zerstören." "Ja," Linda Fox said, and nodded. "What I told her," Emmanuel said to Herb Asher, "is that she has saved you. The poisonous snake is overcome, and I am pleased." And I thanked her. She said that its intentions were clear to her. And then she asked when the darkness would disappear. End of Side 6. To continue, change side selector switch and turn the cassette over.